I'm going to teach you how to make this frog. Click on Create New Design. Remember, the first thing you want to do when you create a new design is to change the name of the design. I'm going to call this Frog That I Love Leslie and hit enter. Again, it has the word frog as the very first word, so it's easy to tell what the design will be. And then it has something descriptive about that frog. I just happen to love it, and my name. So that makes this a very unique title, easy to search for. And it has my name in it so people printing know it's mine. Okay, so let's get some of our basic shapes here. We're going to need 3 cylinders, and 2 of the shapes of cylinders are just regular old cylinders. One is going to be a hole. So I'm coming over here to my basic shapes. I'm grabbing a couple cylinders and then a cylinder that's already turned into a hole for me, so I don't have to go turn it into a hole. Okay. Next, I'm going to need some shape generators. I need or some MetaCapsules, which are under the shape generators. So I'm going to go over here where it says Basic Shapes, click on the down arrow, and I'm going to go down to Shape Generators and click All. I'm going to go to the 3rd page of shape generators. So if you scroll all the way down, you'll see there's tons of pages of these. So we're going straight to the 3rd page. Ooh, we also need a donut slice, so let's grab that. We'll need that later. And let's go down until, I think, actually we're going to scroll up. There's MetaCapsule right over donut slice. So I'm going to drag that out. We need 2 different ones because we're going to have 2 different shapes, or sizes rather. I'm going to drag out 2. Okay, so that should be all the basic pieces we need except for a rectangle. So we need a rectangular prism. So I'm going to go back up here to Tinkercad Basic Shapes, which is where I typically work. And under Basic Shapes, I'm going to go up and grab a box, which I can turn into a rectangular prism when I'm ready. All right, so I'm going to tell you what shapes I want everything to be, how many of each of those sizes and shapes we need, and then we're going to put it all together like a puzzle. So let's start with our eyes. So the eyes of our frog are going to be cylinders. So I'm just going to move this away from the other cylinder. I'm going to click in a corner white box and change the dimensions to 9.78 by 9.78. And that's in millimeters. 9.78, oh, lost it there, by 9.78. And hit enter. Great. Now, how many eyes do we have? We have 2, right? So I clicked off to deselect it. Now I'm going to click back on this eye. Oh, we probably want to change the height, don't we? That's kind of a tall eye. Let's change this height to 2.67 milliliters. So we're going, or millimeters. So we're going to click in this top square and then click where it says 20 and change that to 2.67 millimeters. Hit enter. Great. All right, we need 2 eyes. So again, I'm going to click off it, click back on it, and hold down Control while I press C and then let go of Control. And then hold down Control while I press V, let go of V, and then let go of Control. All right, so I have my 2 eyes here. Now, what we're going to do with these eyes is we're actually going to do something kind of cool. We're going to, instead of putting a hole all the way through them, we're going to put a hole halfway through them. So I can show you how to do that. I'm going to separate these eyes a little bit because I'm going to want to be able to group them separately from each other. So I don't want them right beside each other. Okay, so now I'm going to create the part that's our hole, but it's not going to go all the way through. So let's click on the cylinder hole here, and let's change our dimensions to 6.85 by 6.85 millimeters, 6.85 or 6 85/100ths millimeters. Okay, and we want to change our height here to only be 2.67 millimeters. And hit enter. We have 2 eyes, so we're gonna, this is the eye inside the eye. So we're going to copy that, Control C, and then Control V. Click off, and then drag the other inside of the eye over here. All right, let's build our eyes. So I want to look, let's go over to the left here and click on top so I can look straight from the top, or you can swivel around with your fingers, however you want to do it. So I want to look straight from the top because we're going to use what's called the alignment tool. So I'm going to drag this over on top of the eye and try to center it the best I can. Now I'm going to click off it. Well, it's really hard to get it centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight both of those at the same time. So that's a hole inside of a cylinder. So I'm going to highlight it. And then before I group it, I'm going to align it. So I'm going to come up here to the toolbar and notice that the Align button is available because we have more than one object selected together. So if you only select one thing, Alignment button's not available because you don't have two things to align together. So I'm going to click on the alignment button, and when I do, I get to see 3 dots here, 3 dots here, and actually if I twist, there's also 3 dots going up and down because those are all the different ways that you can center this. Okay, so I want to center it in the middle here and in the middle there. Okay, now I'm going to click off it. Yes, that's perfect. I love it. So I'm going to scroll around. I don't want that hole to come all the way through. I just want it to go down into the eye. So I'm actually going to click here on the cone as if I was dragging it up a little bit. And I did drag it up. I don't know if you can tell, but that 1 right there means that I'm 1 millimeter above the mat. I might drag it up just a tiny bit more because that's not very much. So that's 2 millimeters above the mat. There we go. All right, so I'm going to drag around this and hit group. Now you can see you have a little bit of a hole cut into the eye without going all the way through. And I just thought of something. Why go through all that again, right? Let's actually highlight both of those pieces and delete them and just copy this. So I'm going to highlight around it, hold down Control, press C, let go of C. Just hit the C real quick and then you let go of Control. Hold down Control, hit V. And whoops, Control Z if you mess it up like I did. I'm going to click off it. It's a little easier to drag. And then I'm going to drag it over. When you're in the middle of looking at all the dimensions like this, it's hard to move the figure. It's better to click off it, not have any of the dimensions showing, and then drag it to move it around. Okay, so I've got my eyes. So the next thing I need are my cheeks. So the frog's got 2 big old cheeks. So we're going to use this cylinder. So let's make 1 cheek and then copy it. So let's click on one of the bottom right white squares and type in 18.9 millimeters by 18.9 millimeters and hit enter. Okay, now for the height or depth, I would like it to be 6.23 millimeters. So I'm going to click right here under the cone and type in 6.23 or 6 23/100 millimeters. Okay, that's all I really need to do for the cheek, for the 1 cheek. So I'm going to click on it. Remember see how I keep clicking off my shapes before I go back to do something else to them? It just keeps it a lot cleaner and easier to move everything around. Okay, so I'm going to click back on the shape, the cheek, and I'm going to hold down Control and press C and let go. And then hold down Control and hit V. And then I'll let go of Control. Okay, so those are the 2 cheeks. So here's a screenshot to help remind us what our figure is going to look like when we're done. So we need to take our 2 cheeks and kind of widen them out a little bit as far as how close they are to each other. Maybe more like this. And take our 2 eyes, and our eyes need to be connected to our cheeks. Okay, so we'll come back and work on that a little bit later. The next thing we're going to do is get these pieces ready to go. So we're going to go to one of the MetaCapsules and click on it and change the dimensions to 26.41 for the length, 26 and 41 hundredths for the length, and 23.72 for the width, 23.72 for the width. Then we're going to change the depth, which is that center square, or the height, to 6.23 or 6 and 23 hundredths millimeters, and hit enter. So this is the body of our frog. So we're starting to see our frog come together here. We'll have a few things to tweak. Okay, so now this is going to turn into our arms and legs. So we're going to create one size here and then copy it and twist it around to make our legs and arms. So for our length, we're going to click on one of the corner white boxes, click in the length and type in 12.79 millimeters and hit enter. And then come up to the width and make it 7.63 millimeters and hit enter. We're going to make the height or depth 6.46. 6.46 millimeters. Hit enter. That is going to become our legs and our arms. So for our legs, we're going to want them to come down this way. So I'm going to click here and type, I think we figured out this was negative in a different video. So I'm going to put in negative, maybe, we'll see 90 degrees would turn it all the way around from here down to there, right? So maybe negative 45 degrees. Let's see if we're happy with that. Maybe. Let's try that. So I'm going to Control C, Control V on my keyboard, come back over to the other side. Now we want to twist it around back the other way, right? Or we can keep going. I'm thinking, what do y'all think? So maybe 45 degrees plus 40, maybe 90. Let's see if 90 will flip it all the way around. So, but we're going in the negative direction. Let's see if that works. Ah, what do you know? I flipped it around just like I wanted. So I'm going to drag that little leg. Notice how all my pieces always overlap somewhat, and that's to make sure that they print as one object and not separate objects that fall apart. Okay, so let's click on one of the legs, hold down Control, hit C on your keyboard, and then let go of Control. And then Control V to make a copy. Now let's see. I'm going to click off it and then drag that. It's going to become an arm up here. It's going up a little too far, so I want it to come down some. So at an angle, I'm going to judge maybe 45 degrees, negative 45. No, that's too much. How about, well, from here we want to go positive. Oh, I went back. So maybe from here, negative 20 degrees. Yeah, that looks good. Very cute. Okay, so I'm going to hold down Control, hit C, hold down Control, hit V. I'm going to drag, whoops, Control Z. What's the main thing I tell you before dragging? Click off the shape. Now I'm going to drag the shape over here. So I think I grabbed the wrong one. That's okay. I can drag this one back in. Okay, so I'm going to take this arm and I want it to go back this way. How far? How many degrees do you think? I'm going to try 90. Oop, too far. What do you think? I'm going to do Control Z. Let's get back from the beginning. What do you think it is if it's not 90? How about half a 90? 45. Oop, with a negative. Try negative. There we go, there we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, so you can play around with whatever angle you want for your arms and your legs and how close you want things to be together. The next thing I need to do is bring the eyes up and connect them to the face of my frog. So I'm going to twist this around like so and zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to pull these eyes up. I'm going to click on an eye. And once the eye is selected, I'm going to use Tone to move it up without changing its shape. I'm going to bring it up like so, click off it so nothing is happening with changing the shape. And I'm just going to drag it straight in so that it touches the face. And then I'm going to repeat this process for the other eye. Use the cone just to move it up, try to get those parallel. We'll double check that in a minute. Click off and then drag it in. I don't think I have mine quite at the same spot. And then drag it down some. So you'll play around until you can kind of get these the way you want. So you can look at mine and tell that one eye is further up than the other. So I'm going to drag this one down just a little bit. Now, trying to drag just a little bit can be hard. So as you start to move, you'll get these numbers here, and you can make that a different number. So I changed it from a 6 to a 5 to slightly decrease how far down it is. Now I'm actually a little bit concerned those eyes are too skinny for when we print. So I think I'd like to make them a little longer. So what I'm going to do is drag one to where I want it and then use that measurement for the other one. So I'm going to click on that center white box there, and that's where we put in the height. So a tip with Tinkercad is if everything freezes up, which it does sometimes, just hit the refresh button that's on your toolbar. Okay, so I'm going to click on the height here. I'm just going to make this a little taller because this isn't quite 3 millimeters. It's very tiny to print. So why don't we just make the whole thing, say, 5 millimeters and hit enter. And that looks good. And then maybe just bring it down a little bit. There we go. And let's just do the same thing to the other one. I don't like pieces to be much less than 5 millimeters because it's hard to print. That's half a centimeter. It's hard to print things that are much smaller without running into some issues. Made that 5. I'm going to bring it down some. All right. I'm going to check and see if everything looks like it's pretty lined up. All right, I'm happy. Okay, so let's now put the smiley face on our frog. So down here I have my donut hole. or donut, half donut. I'm going to click on it and bring it over here. Oh, look, I can't see it. So what that means is I need to drag this up. So I'm going to click on the donut on the cone, and that helps me to pull it up a little bit. Now I can drag it and kind of see where I want it. Remember, all this is going to be one shape when we're done. So now I'm going to kind of twist and look and see how high up I am because you can't really tell from the top perspective. And I'm going to drag this down, and I want it to cut into the figure a little bit. I want it to protrude. It's not a hole, it's the other way around. I want it to protrude some. But I also want to be digging down into the figure so it becomes part of the figure for the print. Okay, all right, that looks pretty good. A little off-center. So I'm just going to drag it up a little bit and get it where I like it. And now, if you can always rotate the smile around if you need to. I'm going to highlight all of this. And I'm going to click on Group. And that gives me an idea what it's going to look like when it prints. Now, you can click on Ungroup if there's anything you're not happy with, say if you wanted to move the mouth around some more or the eyes or anything like that. So I'm going to click off my frog, and I need to twist it around. I really haven't checked in to make sure that this is going to print flat. That looks great. So everything but the eyes are going to print flat on the work plane, and that's only a little bit. And these eyes could actually be a little bit tricky to print, but I have a setting that can help those to print since they don't touch the mat. But the more of your figure that touches the mat, the more likely it is to print well. So we don't really need this rectangular prism. I used it in my original design, but I don't think it's necessary now. So we're done.